Welcome back to another mini mock to help you prepare for your U.S. naturalization interview. If you need help and want to schedule your own live mock interview, check out the link in the description. Today, as usual, I will test your knowledge of the 100 civics questions, your English reading and writing ability, and I will also pick a few questions from the N400 to ask you. Make sure to watch the second half of the video where I will go over the answers and some tips for you. Are you ready? Let's start. All right, I'm going to start with the civics test. I'll ask you 10 questions and you need to get 6 correct to pass. First question. When must all men register for the Selective Service? Next question. What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives now? If both the President and the Vice President can no longer serve, who becomes President? Who makes federal laws? What is the highest court in the United States? What is one reason colonists came to America? What was one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did? Who signs bills to become laws? Name one right only for United States citizens. What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? All right, now let's do the English reading and writing portion. I'm going to ask you 3 questions for each. You need at least 1 to pass. So, please read the sentence on the screen for me, please. Now I'm going to read a sentence and I want you to write it down. The capital of the United States is Washington, D.C. Okay. Can you read this sentence on the screen for me, please? All right, now please write this down. The United States has 50 states. Okay, please read this sentence. And here's your last writing sentence. Adams was the 2nd president. Now let's go over the N400 application. First, I need to swear you in. Can you please stand up and raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, thank you. You can sit down and lower your hand. What did you just promise? Okay, good. Can you please show me your appointment notice, your green card, all of your passports, and a state-issued ID? Thank you. Do you need any accommodation for this interview? When did you get your green card? Can you confirm your date of birth for me, please? And where were you born? What is your nationality? Have you moved since submitting the application? Is this also your mailing address? Are either of your parents U.S. citizens? Are you currently working? What do you do? How many trips have you taken abroad in the last 5 years? When was your last trip? And how long was that trip? What was the purpose of that trip? Do you always file your taxes? Have you called yourself a non-U.S. resident on any tax return? And why is that? Were you ever involved in genocide? What's genocide? Were you ever involved in badly hurting or trying to hurt a person on purpose? How about forcing or trying to force someone to have any kind of sexual contact or relation? Do you believe in polygamy? Have you ever made any misrepresentation to obtain any public benefits in the United States? Do you support the Constitution and form of government of the United States? What is the Constitution of the United States? And what is the form of government of the United States? Do you understand the full oath of allegiance to the United States? And what is the full oath of allegiance to the United States? All right, that's it. Any questions? Now let's go over the answers and some tips. All right, I'm going to start with the civics test. I'll ask you 10 questions and you need to get 6 correct to pass. First question. When must all men register for the Selective Service? At age 18, or you can say between 18 and 26. Remember, all male U.S. immigrants are required by law to register for the Selective Service System if you are in the U.S. between ages 18 and 26. This includes green card holders and undocumented immigrants. Next question. What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives now? Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi. If both the president and the vice president can no longer serve, who becomes president? That would be the Speaker of the House. Who makes federal laws? Congress. Other possible answers are the Senate and House of Representatives, or the U.S. or national legislature. What is the highest court in the United States? The Supreme Court. What is one reason colonists came to America? The simplest answer is freedom. You can also say political liberty, religious freedom, economic opportunity, practice their religion, or escape persecution. What was one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did? Freed the slaves, which is the Emancipation Proclamation that he issued on January 1st, 1863. You can also say saved or preserved the Union, or led the United States during the Civil War. Who signs bills to become laws? The President. Name one right only for United States citizens. Vote in a federal election. You can also say run for federal office. What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? Speech. Other correct answers include religion, assembly, press, and petition the government. All right, now let's do the English reading and writing portion. I'm going to ask you 3 questions for each. You need at least 1 to pass. So, please read the sentence on the screen for me, please. What is the capital of the United States? Now I'm going to read a sentence and I want you to write it down. The capital of the United States is Washington, D.C. Okay. Can you read this sentence on the screen for me, please? How many states does the U.S. have? All right. Now please write this down. The United States has 50 states. Okay. Please read this sentence. Who was the second president? And here's your last writing sentence. Adams was the second president. Now let's go over the N400 application. First, I need to swear you in. Can you please stand up and raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You should raise your right hand and say, I do. Okay, thank you. You can sit down and lower your hand. What did you just promise? I promised to tell the truth. Okay, good. Can you please show me your appointment notice, your green card, all of your passports, and a state-issued ID? If you have all of them, just say, here you go, and give them to the officer. It's okay if you don't have a passport or a state-issued ID. The most important documents are your appointment notice and your green cards. Thank you. Do you need any accommodation for this interview? The officer is confirming that you don't have any disabilities or impairments that require special arrangements for the interview. You can simply say no, and if you do need accommodation, you should have requested that when you submitted your application. When did you get your green card? This should be the resident since date on your green card. The date should be the same on your conditional green card and permanent resident green card. Can you confirm your date of birth for me, please? You can either say, my date of birth is, for example, my date of birth is October 1st, 1974. Or you can say, I was born on. So, I was born on October 1st, 1974. And where were you born? State the country where you were born. For example, Mexico. What is your nationality? The officer is asking which country you are a citizen of right now. Usually you will have a passport from that country. Have you moved since submitting the application? If you haven't, just say no. But if you have, make sure to fill out the AR-11 form within 10 days of your move and provide the officer your current address during the interview. Is this also your mailing address? Your mailing address is where you receive your mail. Make sure it's accurate because that's where you will receive the USCIS notices. Are either of your parents U.S. citizens? The officer wants to confirm whether you are already a U.S. citizen or not. You can get citizenship through either of your parents if he or she was naturalized before your 18th birthday. If that's the case, you don't need to file the N400 application. Instead, you should file the N600 or the N600K to get your certificate of naturalization. If not, you can just simply say no. Are you currently working? The officer is asking if you currently have a job. Depending on your situation, you can say, yes, I do. I work part-time. I have my own company. Or I'm retired. Having a job is not a requirement to get U.S. citizenship. So if you're not working, you can either say, no, I'm unemployed, or I'm between jobs, which means you ended your previous job, but you're currently looking for a new job. What do you do? If you have a job or a company, the officer is asking what type of work you do. You can say, I'm an engineer, or I work for the marketing team. How many trips have you taken abroad in the last 5 years? The officer is asking how many trips you have taken outside of the United States that are longer than 24 hours. This includes trips to Mexico and Canada if they're over 24 hours. If you apply through marriage, you only need to list the trips in the last 3 years. And if you've taken any international trips after you submitted your application, you need to update the officer now. It's okay to take international trips after you submitted your application. You just need to be aware of a few things, and I've discussed that in this video. When was your last trip? If you've taken any international trips, the officer will usually ask you about your last trip. So make sure you remember the details, especially the ones after you submitted your application. And how long was that trip? As long as the trip is not longer than 6 months, you don't have to worry about it too much. What was the purpose of that trip? The officer is asking what's the reason for your trip, whether it's leisure, which means you're on vacation, business, which means you traveled for work, or an emergency, such as the death of a family member or a medical emergency. Do you always file your taxes? This is a trick question. It's important to pay attention to the officer. This is the opposite of the question on your N400 application, Part 12, Question 7A. There it asks, have you ever not filed a federal, state, or local tax return since you became a lawful permanent resident? So the easiest way to answer this question is, I've always filed my taxes since I got my green card. And it's perfectly fine if you don't file taxes for a valid reason, such as your income is below the filing threshold. One more thing, if you're applying for naturalization through marriage, it's a good idea to file your taxes jointly to show that your marriage is bona fide. Have you called yourself a non-U.S. resident on any tax return? This is related to Part 12, Question 8 on your N400 application. Have you ever called yourself a non-U.S. resident on a federal, state, or local tax return since you became a lawful permanent resident? If you consider yourself to be a non-U.S. resident on your tax returns, you don't have to pay taxes for certain income overseas. So the answer for most of you should be no. And why is that? The officer is testing if you understand what non-U.S. resident means. A non-U.S. resident is someone who doesn't live in the U.S. from the IRS perspective. You can just say, because I'm a permanent resident and have been living in the U.S. Were you ever involved in genocide? The answer should be no. What's genocide? Killing a group of people because of their religion or race. Were you ever involved in badly hurting or trying to hurt a person on purpose? This should be no. How about forcing or trying to force someone to have any kind of sexual contact or relation? This is no as well. Do you believe in polygamy? Polygamy means being married to more than one person at the same time, and it's illegal in the U.S. It's related to Part 12, Question 30D. So the answer should be no. Have you ever made any misrepresentation to obtain any public benefits in the United States? It is okay to obtain public benefits in the United States if needed, and it will not affect your eligibility for citizenship. What's not okay is providing false information to obtain public benefits. So, your answer should be no. Do you support the Constitution and form of government of the United States? You should answer yes. What is the Constitution of the United States? It is the supreme law of the land. And what is the form of government of the United States? You can either say republic or democratic republic. Don't confuse republic with republican. Republic is a form of government, and Republican is a political party. or a person associated with the political party in the U.S. Do you understand the full oath of allegiance to the United States? The answer is yes. And what is the full oath of allegiance to the United States? To promise to be loyal to the United States. All right, that's it. Any questions? Here you can ask the officer questions such as, when will the oath ceremony be? If you can bring guests to the oath ceremony, etc. All right, I hope this video helped you. Leave me a comment and let me know if you like this format. I'll see you next time. Bye.